Shut up and don't wait. Nobody cares about your leg. Stop talking. We need to figure out where we are. Hey, do you like know what you're talking about? These new people? We're not gonna remember that. Guys, seriously, we need to figure out where we are and how to get back to the mainland. I don't want to be stuck here forever. Good. Came here once before for a vacation trip. I know a long time ago. I just don't remember. He's your manager. Oh, repeat that. Who even are you? My name is Marsha. I already told you that. Hi, Ashley. The most popular influencer on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. How do you guys like not know me? Nobody wants to know spoiled brats like you. My name is Sam, by the way, and I actually care about people. Sam, you need to be quiet. Remember, I will drop you in a second. My name is Jessica, and you are nothing. I don't even follow you. Come on, girls. We're all smart, independent women. We need to stick together. Oh, shut up, Rose. How do you know my name? The least we could do is like figure out what we're gonna do. This jungle is literally like so boring. Does anyone have like something to do? Like, come on, how to run these circuits? I don't think we can survive. But if you didn't notice, I was meant to go back to your promoted from the beach, and I thought it was over. That's not really that way. This is the one, but okay, survive, I guess. Oh, I'm so sick of yeah, she was tough, but probably just doing all she knows how to do. I wish she would just learn how to do something other than look at the phone all the time. I can't stand her. Hey, are you all right? Seems like you're I mean, not really. Think about Mrs. Spencer. All the people that died, we could have died. Yeah, hard to think now. Nothing we can do about it now. That really all. I'm just thinking about what would happen if we had a crash. I was on my way to a job interview my parents wanted me to go to, and Jessica insisted on coming to me to work. I think she really just wanted the teacher to confuse it. The truth is, I didn't want to come at all. Yeah. I was on my friends. You know, I can't not sure what we're right. You know what I mean. You're funny, lady. I know.
It is 6:34, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. And before we get started with things, can we have another round of applause for our meeting? And are there parents here of these very fine artists? Could you stand and we can recognize you as well? Thank you. Now, can everybody rise and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by our crew here. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all again, and thank you to Ms. Dart. That was amazing. And may I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Christensen is not here yet. Mr. Pantera.
Here.
Mrs. Greenberg.
Here.
Dr. Lim.
Here.
Miss Wani is not here yet.
Thank you. We are expecting both Ms. Wani and Ms. Christensen fairly soon, but we will keep on keeping on. Next on the agenda is approval of agenda. Dr. Reynolds.
Thank you, President Greenberg, Cabinet, guests. Items approved by consent will not come up for discussion during the meeting, but will be approved when the agenda is adopted. This is possible since members of the governing board receive the agenda along with backup materials at least 24 hours prior to the meeting and have had time to review and consider all items. Prior to the agenda being adopted, members of the governing board may ask that an item be removed from the consent agenda and brought to the floor for discussion at the appropriate place on the agenda. Any member of the audience who submitted a blue public comment card prior to the start of the meeting will be recognized to speak on that agenda item under items for approval. I would like to offer the agenda as posted.
Thank you. We received no blue public comment cards, so no one in the audience wants to move anything from consent. Does anyone, any governing board member wish to remove an item from consent? Seeing none, Mr. Pantera, may I have a motion?
Yes, I so move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is governing board statements. Mr. Pantera.
Thank you, President Greenberg. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Those of you watching, hello. Glad to see you all here. So much happened since the last board meeting for me. Did many things. I want to share some of them with you. Starting with at the Ridge, one Saturday at Eagle Ridge. I was there for a friend of mine, a colleague who retired, Rose Carricker. She was administrative assistant over there. And I had to show up because she kept me out of so much hot water when I worked there. It's unbelievable. Yeah, yeah, good luck to you on your journeys in retirement. I know they're going to get a good person to replace her, but you know, Rose by any other name doesn't answer the phone so sweetly. So there's that. I also went to Shadow Mountain High School. They had their NVAA strings performance there. It was wonderful. They had the middle school and then the high school groups all taking turns and doing things. I'm glad my wife couldn't go. Usually she likes to go to these things, but when they did that the Rainbow Connection piece with all the video behind the slides of the kids and growing up, all the tears I could see start coming from her. And by the end, when they're all crying, the seniors, well, I know she'd have lost it. I wasn't crying. You're crying. I wasn't crying. It was a wonderful event. I also went to the gifted showcase. That was at Paris Valley High School. And that was wonderful. Seeing all these different schools with their students and projects showing up. They had things like Rubik Cube competitions. There was a mosaic made of, curled paper. It was amazing. I don't know how to describe it. They even have one school that does a radio station. Fantastic stuff that they're doing there. All these things I saw. Last week in Mother's Day, I was at the Arizona Education Association's Delegate Assembly. I'm only bringing that up because I was there with the retired group. And a person came up to talk to me. Says, I bet you don't remember me. And that's always a signal to teachers, oh, this must be one of my former students. And it was a former student. And she was telling me how she remembered the classroom and that she worked now for Deer Valley Education Deer Valley School District. I, of course, tried to recruit her right away to get her back over here, but she said she's all set up over there. But what she mentioned to me was why she remembered me in third grade at Air Libre. That's Margot Seck was the principal. Anybody remember Margot Seck? Yeah, you remember, right? She was, I worked for her, but back then I taught third grade. And she remembered the thing we did, writing letters to Peter Ubroff, who was in charge of the baseball. He's president of the Baseball Association there. And we wanted to get a professional team here to Arizona. Back then we had the Phoenix Firebirds. And then they were, the Phoenix Giants became the Phoenix Firebirds. I don't think you care. So we were writing letters, and somehow Channel 3 heard about this. And so their sportscaster came and he brought the coach of the Firebirds, Lefevre, I think was his name. And they came in and they filmed us. They had the kids reading their letters and everything. It was wonderful. And this is what she's telling to me. She wasn't telling me about how she did great on state standard tests back then. I mean, all these things I'm mentioning are not state standard tests. That brings me to what I'm saying. My point is that this is where the craft, the art of what we do as teachers comes in. We have science, we have database instruction, we're looking at the numbers, but the art of it is to take all that information and marry it with things students want to know, things that they'll remember, episodic memories that touch not only their minds, but their hearts. So that when they come back, when they finish their education, whether they go to college or career paths, they still love to learn. And they still feel fondly about where they came from. That's why we have so many people coming back with their children to live here. So many teachers come back to teach here. And the things I saw this last week only reiterated that the things I was trying to do as a teacher are still happening here. And I can't wait to see more of it in the year to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pantera. Dr. Lim?
I'm going to keep mine brief. I had the opportunity to attend on Tuesday the retirement and silver awards, silver awards. People who have been here for 25 years in the district. Silver anniversary. Thank you. My brain. And I had the chance to attend that on Tuesday, and it was exceptional to sit in the room with many people who have been with the district for sometimes their entire career. I happened to get to sit at the table with a teacher from my old elementary school, as well as my mom, who is retiring. And it was a great opportunity to sit and talk with those soon-to-be community members about what their path after retirement is going to be. And the resounding sentiment in the room was they want to come and give back to PV in the ways that they can, through volunteering, through becoming a substitute, through thinking about our VIP program. It was amazing to hear that they're retiring. It is their time to relax and put their feet up, and yet they're thinking about ways that they can give back to the schools where their grandkids are at, the schools that they served at. And they're thinking about giving back to a community for no paycheck. And it is amazing to hear these amazing people thinking about their future in PV as a volunteer in any capacity they choose. And it was really heartwarming to hear that they are so supportive of the district they've been with so long, that they are coming back to PV in these other capacities to continue to give back to our students. That tells you how great we are as a district and how valuable our students are to these individuals that are retiring. So thank you so much, everyone at the table I was with and everyone I spoke to, for sharing what your next path is and where you're going and how you're going to continue to give back to this community. It will be invaluable for every student's life you engage, and we appreciate the time that you've given. We hope you enjoy your retirement, and I hope to see you around the schools.
And Dr. Lim, Robert, who helps run our live streaming, was at the 25-year
Yes.
silver anniversary. So
Yeah.
that was exciting. And he was a student of mine.
Yeah. Learned that on Tuesday.
And that is a little disconcerting.
You get used to it. Yeah, I'll keep my remarks brief as well. In addition to the retirement anniversary, soiree this past week. Last week, United Parent Council had its teacher and staff appreciation event up at Pinnacle High School, where not everybody was able to attend, but what was it, over 700 members of our teaching staff, of our support staff, of our admin were recognized because someone in their school or someone at their site wanted them to know how much it meant to them, something they did, what their, maybe it was a one-time thing, maybe it was you've been an amazing teacher for my student this entire year, but it was incredible. And I want to congratulate Dr. Corson and Dr. Lindsay for getting through all the names as well. But it was an amazing event, and I want to thank UPC and the particularly the folks who head up the teacher staff appreciation efforts, because it was a huge effort. And this has grown from just, I don't want to say just, but having everybody come before a board meeting. We used to acknowledge folks here, but it's simply gotten too big for that. And it's just lovely that we have, that UPC is able to take that and make it its own event. And I appreciate that every member of the board was able to be there and make it. It was just a very special evening. Also, this is our last board meeting of this not school year. We still have June meetings, but before graduation, yes, that's what I was going to say. And so to all of our graduates, we each will be attending one of our high school's graduations. And I'm at PV, I'm looking forward to that, and also Sweetwater this year. But to all of our grads, congratulations. To your families, congratulations. It's a huge step. It's amazing. Enjoy the week, because I know it's much less pressure for you guys this week. But for those of you who we're only going to get to see the high school we're at, but congratulations to everybody. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing time, and enjoy every moment of it. And with that, unfortunately, we're trying to vamp a little bit more, but Ms. Wani and Mrs. Christensen are still on their way. Next on the agenda is awards and recognitions. Dr. Reynolds.
Thank you, President Greenberg. Governing Board, at this time, I'd like to invite the Governing Board to join me in the front of the dais.
Good evening, President Greenberg, Governing Board members, members of Cabinet, and attendees, both in person and virtual. Tonight, we have several recognitions to share with you. This evening, we'll be inviting our honorees to the front of the room for their recognition and photo. Please make your way to the front of the room after your name is called. One of our high school FBLA teams excelled at the state conference with 14 out of 18 students qualifying for nationals. Overall, there were 29 top 10 finishes, which was the 5th highest total among high schools in the state. And many of the students earned multiple awards across various categories, including one state champion. Our state champion is unable to be here with us this evening, but we still want to recognize him for his project, Intro to Financial Math, from Paradise Valley High School. Please join me in congratulating Shreyas Demera. Up next, we have several track and field recognitions. Tonight, we're joined by champions in the areas of running, high jump, pole vault, hurdles, relay, and discus. Please hold your applause until we call all the winners. From Division I, Pinnacle High School, in the 3,200 meter race, Isabella Cropper. From Division II, North Canyon High School, in the 100, 200, and 400 meter races, Devin Henderson. In the 4x100 meter relay, Demetria Cosgrove, Tiana Becketts, Sabria Elamin, and Rebecca Jade Garrett. Rebecca Jade Garrett also won in the 100 meter hurdles. Lastly, from North Canyon, Leanna McLeod in the high jump. Division 3 from Shadow Mountain High School in the 200 meters and pole vault, Caden Heisung. And in the discus, Orlando Perry. For our final two recognitions this evening, I have the pleasure of turning it over to Dr. Reynolds. Retirees. Yeah.
All right, so it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Corson and Dr. Lindsay, who are here. No, I'm sorry, Mrs. Copen. Dr. Lindsay's like, not me. We have two retirees, two retiring administrators that we want to honor this evening. They're two incredible people. We've welcomed here this evening to celebrate their careers, celebrate who they are as people, who they are as educators, and who they are as our friend. So, Dr. Corson and Mrs. Copen.
Well, thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Today, we celebrate the incredible career of Principal David Appelman as he retires after more than 2 decades of service, leadership, and dedication to students, staff, and the greater school community. Mr. Appelman began his journey with PV Schools in August of 1999, bringing his passion for education and people from his roots in New York all the way to Arizona. Over the years, he has served in multiple roles and at several schools within the district, including North Canyon and Pinnacle as a teacher, and later as an assistant principal at Pinnacle, Shea, and North Canyon. In 2012, he became the proud principal of Shadow Mountain High School, where his vision and commitment to students have shaped a decade of success, growth, and community spirit. Whether cheering from the sidelines or supporting the arts, Mr. Appelman has always shown up with integrity and heart. He was recognized with the Outstanding Administrator Award from the Arizona Music Educators Association, a testament to his support of fine arts and belief in the importance of a well-rounded education. Beyond the accolades and titles, David is known for being approachable, kind, and visionary, often described by his colleagues as the type of leader who listens first, leads with empathy, and never shies away from a challenge. His quiet confidence and consistent presence have made him not just a school leader, but a mentor and friend to many. As he steps into retirement, David is looking forward to exciting new chapters, moving closer to his parents, spending quality time with his sister, and hitting the road for RV adventures with his wife, Susie. He's also excited to indulge in his hobbies, gardening, backyard entertaining, and one of his favorite passions, designing, collecting, and making watches. David is also a proud father to Ben and Jacob, and his love for family is evident in all that he does. On behalf of the entire PV family, we thank you, David, for a career defined by care, commitment, and excellence. Your legacy will live on in the lives of the students you've guided, the colleagues you've inspired, and the community you've strengthened. Congratulations, David.
Yeah, your wife.
Thank you so much. It has been the greatest honor of my life. Um, being the principal at Shadow Mountain High School, it's an incredible place, and there are bright, bright days ahead for it with great new leadership in Heidi. Um, I could not have done it without the support and love of my wife, Susie, who's here with us tonight.
Miss Karen Brown, our gifted director, is retiring after an extraordinary 44-year career in education. She has made a lasting impact on students, teachers, and leaders, not just here in Paradise Valley, but across Arizona and the country. Karen held certificates in 9 states and has served Phoenix Elementary, Mesa Public Schools, Scottsdale, and Paradise Valley. Through gifted consultants, she has shared her expertise nationally, presenting at major conferences and co-authoring respected publications on gifted education. She has been a passionate and influential voice in the field and is always pushing for high expectations and meaningful support for gifted learners. Her long list of accolades includes Disney Teacher of the Year, AAGT Gifted Teachers of the Year, NAGC Masters and Specialist Award. But beyond her awards, Karen is known for her strong leadership and her relentless drive to do what is right for kids. She tells it like it is, holds high standards, and is always bringing a spark to make people sit up, think, and smile. Karen also proudly supported her husband Dan through 20 years of military service. Together, they raised 5 incredible kids, welcomed a grandson, Benjamin, and filled their home with love, including granddogs. She is an avid baseball fan and will be enjoying that in retirement, a loyal colleague, and someone whose influence will be felt for years to come. Karen, we thank you for your leadership, your incredible heart for students and colleagues, and the legacy you are leaving behind. And we wish you all the best in this well-earned next chapter of your life.
So, thank you. I have been a teacher in PV. I have been a gifted program mentor here, and then the director. I love Paradise Valley. I love our gifted kids, and I love the team that I work with. They're amazing. I'm leaving them in good hands. Thank you.
All right. Superintendents in our district for many years have awarded the Superintendent's Distinguished Service Award to members of our school district and community for going above and beyond to support our district and the students, parents, community members, and employees we serve. I have the privilege to award this service award to someone who has helped lead our district for many, many years. She has represented educational support professionals with passion, integrity, and empathy. She has been a wonderful support to me, and I've benefited greatly from her insights. And I will miss the time that we have spent this year reminiscing about the PV way and some of the things that she's going to do in retirement. As we both say goodbye to this place we love so much, it is my honor and privilege to award the Superintendent's Distinguished Service Award to Michelle Courtwright.
I want to thank everyone. This truly has been a remarkable journey. I have never woken up and said I'm going to work. This has been home. I love every student and every employee that I've ever helped. And it's going to be really hard to step away, but I made a promise that if somebody won an election, I would retire. So that's what I'm doing. But I'm volunteering too. Thank you.
And that, President Greenberg, concludes this evening's awards and recognitions.
Thank you all. Next on the agenda is superintendent's comments. Dr. Reynolds.
Thank you, President Greenberg. In PV schools, we engage, inspire, and nurture students through high-quality instruction, meaningful educational opportunities, and dynamic learning experiences. One of those experiences is the SEALS program. The Arizona Department of Education recognizes excellence of high school graduates with this program and celebrates students who have excelled in a particular area of study. PV Schools is proud to offer the highly coveted Arts Proficiency Seal, which is awarded to students who have achieved academic excellence in arts education and have completed a rigorous set of extracurricular activities and a capstone project. All 5 PV schools, comprehensive high schools, have students receiving this distinguished honor. And this year, 90 students earned their Arts Proficiency Seal. Please help me congratulate these students on their hard work, discipline, and dedication. And speaking of dedication, I'd like to highlight our dedicated staff who made this year's Prom Boutique a reality. I would like to introduce 2 staff members and volunteers who are co-chairs of the Prom Committee and here to give us an update on the Prom Boutique. Please help me welcome Rosemary Jacob, who will be presenting tonight.
Thank you. Okay, President Greenberg, members of, perfect. Members of the board, Dr. Reynolds, and the PVUSD community. My name is Rosemary Jacob, and I'm a special education mentor with 20 years of dedicated student service to our students here in PV. As a proud Paradise Valley Education Association member, I'm one of the Prom Boutique chairs. And so I'm going to dive into it here. Thank you, Matt. So prom is a cherished high school experience, but it often comes with a daunting price tag. Think back on your senior and junior proms. How much did your tickets cost? I recall the expenses, the tickets, the attire, the dinner, they all add up. PVEA completed our 8th Prom Boutique season, an event that has become a cherished tradition in our community. Since its inception, this initiative has provided invaluable support to over 900 PV students by offering free formal attire, accessories, and raffle prizes. This prom season, we broke a record and we fitted 191 students. None of this would have been possible without the generosity of our PV community. We asked for donations and our community delivered. Your donations of dresses, suits, accessories, makeup, perfume, cologne, and $925 of gift cards for raffles. A special thank you to the Pinnacle High School Society of Women Scholars and National Honor Society for contributing $500 worth of gift cards. We also received donations from our Amazon wish list from our community to help accessorize those final looks or to dine at local restaurants for dinner. Thank you to the local businesses, Shag Salon in Scottsdale and Prom Photo Sessions with naturally inspired images for 2 lucky students on prom night. Now our volunteers. The dedication and selflessness of our volunteers cannot go unnoticed. From the 67 staff members, certified, classified, principals, and directors who gave up their evenings and Saturdays to the 12 volunteers from our Volunteers in Paradise program and our student volunteers setting up and tearing down the boutique, all played an indispensable role in the success of this event. Thank you, board member Jessica Wani, for giving your time to work the boutique and getting our shoes organized. Yeah. We would also like to extend a heartfelt appreciation to retired employee Pam Lambert. She returned after last year and attended 5 events and provided alterations for many of our students, free of service. And of course, our deepest gratitude goes out to Sweetwater Community School and Principal Mark Danner for graciously providing us with the space to host this event year after year. Lastly, to our esteemed board members, superintendent, and cabinet, your continued support and presence at the boutique have been invaluable. In closing, let us remember that tonight, as we celebrate another successful year of the PVEA Prom Boutique, we're not just providing attire, we are creating memories, fostering inclusivity, and making dreams a reality for our students. Thank you for your unwavering support, and here's to many more years of making a difference together. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary, and PVEA and everyone who's involved in that. It's just absolutely extraordinary. May is the time of year when we highlight the importance of our teaching staff. These hardworking teachers and staff dedicate themselves to supporting student success on a daily basis. But in Paradise, it isn't just teachers who work to support excellence. We have a workforce filled with passionate people who come to work each and every day, making the experience in PV second to none. Tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce Melissa Schwartz, representing United Parent Council, who will be making a short presentation about the recent UPC Staff Appreciation event hosted at Pinnacle High School.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Good evening, President Greenberg, Governing Board and Cabinet and guests. I'm Melissa Schwartz, a proud parent of a graduating senior from Paradise Valley High School and my second to graduate from the CREST program. I'm here tonight on behalf of the United Parent Council in celebration of Teacher Staff Appreciation. As a past president of UPC and active member of UPC for 10 years, I've participated with numerous district meetings, AIM presentations, strategic planning, gifted presentations, band competitions, hiring committees, walking for Yes for PV and M&O overrides, and have personally met and collaborated with hundreds of teachers and staff across this district. The incredible passion, knowledge, and dedication PV teachers and staff deliver day in and day out to PV students is truly unmatchable. Over the past 17 years, United Parent Council's Teacher Staff Appreciation Program has grown so much that we had to move the celebration of this very room 3 years ago to provide ample space to celebrate with teachers, staff, and their families. We want to thank the Governing Board, Cabinet, and Dr. Reynolds for their support of and attendance at this unique celebration. This year, we had over 1,300 nominations and 686 recipients. We do our best to encourage participation from each school community as we had this year. Teachers, aides, office staff, custodial staff, bus drivers, nurses, and more received letters this year. Hundreds attended the 3rd annual celebration event hosted at Pinnacle High School. Attendees were treated to live musical performances by a Desert Cove cellist, a Mountain Trail singer, and a Pinnacle High School jazz duo. Thank you to Fine Arts Director Maureen Minnick for the musical lineup. Attendees also heard renditions of some of the nomination letters read by Pinnacle drama students. A crowd favorite was a letter from a student extolling a favorite teacher. My teacher offered to clean my oranges when I dropped them at snack time. She helps me with my work when I have a question. She gives me hugs sometimes when I'm feeling sad. She says she's proud of me and encourages me a lot. I'll never get tired of her, and I'm excited she will be my teacher again next year. United Parent Council and parents across the district know that we have thousands of teachers and staff members across PV schools who make a difference in the lives of students each day. Special thanks to Pinnacle High School and the many volunteers that helped make the celebration possible, including the various PTOs that provided cookies and water. Thank you to all of you that helped your kids write letters or sent in your own letters of appreciation. And now, here are this year's recipients.
Thank you so much, United Parent Council, for all you do for our students, for the entire district, but for organizing this amazing event to honor our teachers and staff. So thank you so much. And lastly, congratulations to our students and staff for a successful school year. Next week marks the end of the academic year, an advancement to the next grade for our students. I want to give a special recognition to the graduating class of 2025 who will celebrate their commencements next week. Your future is bright, and we look forward to seeing where your post-secondary journey takes you. PV Schools is proud of the growth and achievements of all of our students and staff. And from all of us here, thank you for your hard work, dedication, and we hope you have a safe and relaxing summer. And to our retirees that are ending your careers over the next few weeks, thank you for all you do and have done for the students of this district. We will absolutely miss you. President Greenberg, that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Next on the agenda are items for approval, and we have some administrative employment personnel actions. Dr. Holmes.
Madam President, members of the board, Amanda Howe is currently a special education K-12 beginning teacher mentor. She earned a Bachelor of Arts in Special Education from ASU and a Master of Education in Curriculum Instruction from Nova Southeastern University. If approved, she will receive salary and benefits in accordance with the COA bargaining agreement, and we recommend you approve Ms. Howe to be one of our coordinators of special education.
Thank you, Dr. Holmes. May I please have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Amanda Howe for the position of Coordinator of Special Education as presented? Mrs. Christensen.
So moved.
Does any board member wish to make a comment or have a question? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Ms. Howe.
Do you have any family or anyone you want to introduce?
Erin Smith is currently a support teacher here in PV Schools. She earned a Bachelor of Arts in Music Therapy from Wilmette University and a Master of Education in Special Education from Plymouth State University. If approved, she will receive salary and benefits in accordance with the COA bargaining agreement. And we recommend you approve Ms. Smith to be the other of our coordinators of special education.
Thank you. Mrs. Christensen, may I please have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Erin Smith for the position of Coordinator of Special Education as presented?
So moved.
Does any board member wish to make a comment or have a question? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Ms. Smith.
Anybody to introduce?
And finally, this evening, Chelsea Conisette is currently, is currently an administrative intern at Eagle Ridge Elementary School. She earned a Bachelor of Arts in Elementary Education from North Central College and a Master of Education in Educational Leadership from ASU. If approved, she will receive salary and benefits in accordance with the COA bargaining agreement, and we recommend you approve Ms. Conisette to be the next coordinator of federal programs.
Thank you. Mrs. Christensen, may I please have a motion to approve the recommendation to hire Chelsea Conisette for the position of Coordinator of Federal Programs as presented?
So moved.
Does any board member have any questions or comments? Seeing none? Oh, Mr. Pantera.
Well, I just want to say, we get so many great people from the Ridge. I just want to shout out to them. Keep it
And from
going over there.
ASU.
Thank you, Mr. Pantera. Sorry, I missed your hand initially. Anybody else? All right, now seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Congratulations,
unanimously.
Ms. Conisette.
I have my dad watching us. And my very excited Italian grandma watching us from Illinois, and then I have TV family from over the years.
Thank you, Dr. Holmes. Next on the agenda is consideration and approval of a memorandum of understanding between the Arizona Lions Vision and Hearing Foundation and the Paradise Valley Unified School District for the 2025-26 school year. Dr. Lindsay.
Good evening, President Greenberg and members of the board. Tonight, it is recommended that the governing board approve an MOU between the district and the Arizona Lions Vision and Hearing Foundation. This MOU would allow Palomino Primary to participate in the Arizona Lions Closing the Gap on Children's Vision Screening Program, which is designed to assist families and schools with student vision screening and glasses in an effort to improve student achievement. This one-year MOU would provide on-site mobile eye services for identified students, requires parent consent, and includes detailed responsibilities of both the school and the Arizona Lions. This MOU has been vetted by District Legal Counsel, and the program would begin at the beginning of next school year. I'd like to thank our principal, Angela Morgan, who is here tonight, for her work in partnering with the Palomino neighborhood community and the connections she's made to bring this MOU forward for your consideration.
Thank you, Dr. Lindsay. Mrs. Christensen, may I please have a motion to approve the MOU between the Arizona Lions Vision and Hearing Foundation and the Paradise Valley Unified School District for the 25-26 school year as presented?
So moved.
Does any board member have any questions or comments? Ms. Wani.
Hello. Okay, I have a couple of questions. Okay, just bear with me. One's a comment, and it's going to sound maybe a little obnoxious, but I am an attorney, and I would be remiss if I didn't point out that the MOU is currently dated September 16th, 2024. So I assume I had some questions about the term. So it's to start then for next year. Is there going to be a term included in the MOU?
Yes, we will get that corrected.
Okay. And then I just had a couple questions. So under purpose and scope, It talks about referred students with no vision insurance, and it mentions confirmation of enrollment and access. So I just was wondering, how are the students identified?
So I'm going to have Angela come up because she's been doing a lot of work with the Arizona Alliance to help me answer some of these questions. But my understanding is that they would work directly with our school nurse to identify students who are in need of glasses. We had over 100 kids this year that were identified, and so we have a starting point. But Angela, is there anything you'd like to add?
Good evening. So, all of our students go through the 45-day screening process, which includes vision and hearing assessments through our school nurse. Through this, we do work with families of identified students that did not pass our initial hearing and vision tests. From there, we do try to refer out to resources. This year, we have found some barriers along the way of resources that we usually connect with are they're full. There's a lot of families in need of this. And so through some of our community members, we were able to find out about the Lions Club. This year, we did have 100 students that are in need of glasses that we still have not remedied this concern so that we can have better access to academics. So through this, we're hoping to eliminate that barrier, bring the service to them right there on site, have the students fitted for glasses right there during the school day. They bring back, the doctor comes to them, they get the glasses fitted, the doctor comes back, kind of checks everything out, and then the students are able to move on with their school year.
And so I think this is fantastic. So this will be the first time that this partnership will be, hopefully, once we vote, coming into effect. But you've had the process in place of sort of identifying some of the kiddos who maybe needed some support. So the minimum, the part of the MOU that discusses the minimum number of students, right? So I have a couple questions about that. So is that going to just sort of like be a rolling sort of open process whereby then when there are 25 students minimum identified, that's when they'll come on site?
Correct. So how they've kind of said they work it is once we are going to do the whole entire school of identifying, at that point we'll have our number. That's usually done mid-September. And so they'll come out as many times as needed, but we're hoping that they can do all, if there's 100 kids next year, all of them in maybe 1 to 2 days on site. They said it's a pretty quick process of getting students, kind of like a bus that comes, right? They go out, they get their vision test, and then they return right back to their school day.
Okay, and it's open to any student K through 12 in the whole district?
No, this would be a partnership just at Palomino Primary servicing kinder through third grade students.
Oh, okay, because that was not in the MOU.
The MOU is with the district, so it's
Okay.
specifically for PAL Primary right now.
Okay.
But if there are other schools that are interested, we can also bring them on board.
Thank you. Thanks for answering my questions.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Mrs. Christensen?
Yes, sorry. That's okay. That's okay. So I've spoken on this topic before of just private-public partnerships. And I just believe that we can't be everything to all students. And, we are in the business of academics and education. I was wondering, my first question is, will the parents be there in person during and I did see that it requires parent permission, but will they be there in person during these exams?
So we have partnerships similar to this with other organizations for things like uniforms and things like that. Um, Through parent permission, that does state that they're allowing their child during the school day to do this without the parent there. Now, if a parent says, "I'd really like to be present," of course, you're welcome to come on, but that is not part of the requirement, just that the permission form has been filled out.
Okay, and the other question that I have was, is this during class time or is this during lunchtime? Are they taken out of their classrooms to do this?
Because we're needing to service so many students, they will be missing some academic times. But I think in the long run, missing that 15 minutes of school to get the vision assessment will help them academically because now they will be able to see everything the teacher's presenting. Where right now we've had students go a whole entire year with potentially blurred vision or impaired vision while the teacher's teaching.
So, while I feel this is a noble feat, I've never met a parent that has left our district because we didn't offer vision. And I just am increasingly concerned about these partnerships that take away from academic achievement. We just hired a new superintendent, and one of the reasons he was hired was because he focuses on student achievement. He focused on two things at his old district. One was third grade reading scores and getting those up, and graduation rates. And I'm just increasingly concerned that the more that we try to do in our district, while I think it's great that we're doing all these things for the kids, it just, I feel that it takes away from academics, and you had stated that it's taking away from classroom time.
Yeah, thank you for that. We believe very strongly that by creating a partnership like this, we also are focused very much on third grade reading, but students need to be able to see in order to be able to read. And so we believe that this will have a tremendous impact on the students and families of Palomino.
And
Is it-
also it's voluntary, correct?
Correct. So through the screening process, if a parent is not able to take their child through the traditional route of getting a vision screening, this would be something that we could offer for them to do right there on site.
But of course, if they did not want to participate, there would be no obligation to do so.
I did have one more question. You indicated that we often refer out. Why are we not going that route on this? Because to me, I know that we do the vision and hearing screenings, but why are we not sending out referrals? You kind of alluded to that earlier. Was that because there's not a high follow-up rate, or what was the reasoning?
Maybe I misused the word referral in this. So if a student does not pass the screener, the nurse has a form. All of our nurses use the same form that goes out to the family indicating that their child did not pass a test, and letting the family know that we're advising they seek additional support in this area. So I guess I mean in referral, we're saying they need to go take the next step to have a doctor now look at the vision, because the nurse is just really a pre-screener is what's happening in the nurse's office.
And we've identified some of the families have transportation barriers or other barriers that have not allowed them to follow up. So we want to support them with that effort.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? I mean, it seems to me just sort of I don't want to call it a trade-off, but if we're going to mark minutes, seat minutes, you're saying that if a child is identified and then the parent provides permission through this program, that they're going to be out of the classroom for maybe 15 minutes, taking that next medical step, and presumably getting a prescription. And then what happens when do they just, when the glasses arrive,
So when the glasses arrive, they come back and they do a fitting with the child to make sure that they fit appropriately. And then the child walks away that day with glasses for them to now have as their own for the remainder of the school year.
okay. So it's really a very minimal amount of time that they're actually out of the classroom being tested and fitted. And then hopefully, as someone who wears glasses, that gives them a lifetime of better vision.
Right. The goal would be a minimal intervention at the beginning
Right.
when we first identify the problem for greater accomplishments in the end.
That was my interpretation of what was happening. Anybody else have any other comments? Dr. Reynolds?
I just wanted to know if they do bifocals.
Dr. Reynolds, I will ask them if you can have a slot on the visit.
Okay. Anybody else? Any lists?
I was just going to make a comment that, I mean, we're all a family of contact wearing glasses people. And I would just like to maybe point out also that this is a lot less time out of the classroom than if I know when I had to make an appointment, we probably, and I mean, now I'm thinking about the handbook where I'm like, oh my gosh, every time I take my kid out 30, like 20 minutes late, they get half the day. I mean, that's what I do. I make it in the morning, right? And it probably takes us about an hour and a half that we're missing. So I think that this is, an opportunity not only to remove the barriers for kids that don't have the ability to pay for it, don't have the access to the doctors, don't know where to start. And then on top of that, it's getting done on site. They go right back to class. It's like incredibly efficient. I wish the world operated that way. That'd be great. So thank you so much for leading. And it'd be wonderful to hear, get an update about how the event turned out. Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments? Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Motion passes with 4 ayes and 1 abstention. Thank you. Next on the agenda is consideration and approval of the 712 Fine Arts Supplemental Resource List in additions to the K-12 Supplemental Resource List. This is our second reading, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Copen.
President Greenberg, Governing Board, tonight, as you said, is our second read for the 712 Fine Arts Supplemental Resource and 27 additional supplemental resources being added to the K-12 Supplemental Resource List. We request your approval, and we are happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you. Mrs. Christensen, may I please have a motion to approve the 712 Fine Arts Supplemental Resource List and additions to the K-12 Supplemental Resource List as presented?
So moved.
Does any board member have any comments or questions? Mrs. Christensen.
Just once again, thank you. You all did such an incredible job, and all of our committees. I've just been so impressed with the depth and the thoroughness of these committees and how they, get as many, as much input as possible from a lot of different groups. And this list is incredible. So my comments were similar to last time's, and you all did a really nice job. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Next. Thank you. Next on the agenda is acceptance of gifts and donations. I'd like to note a few that were received this time. At Horizon High School, the Kiwanis Club donated $1,000 to the Key Club. At North Ranch Elementary, the North Ranch PTA donated $58,000 for the artificial turf for the kindergarten playground and outdoor classroom with a pony wall around the tree and garden area. Yes, that was $58,000. At Pinnacle, Project Lead the Way donated $20,000 for the STEM program. And at Quail Run, the Quail Run PTO donated $2,400 for 6th grade field trip scholarships. There were many, many other donations. We appreciate all of them. And if you're here, thank you. If you know someone who's on the list, please thank them for us. Mrs. Christensen, may I have a motion to accept gifts and donations, please?
So moved.
Does any board member have a comment or question? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next on the agenda is call to the public. So I'd ask that you please turn your attention to the video monitors.
Call to the Public is about to convene. This portion of today's meeting allows the public the opportunity to address the governing board. Although state law does not require that the governing board hold a call to the public, the Paradise Valley Unified School District and its board have chosen to do so because we believe it's important to hear about concerns and issues from our community. While Call to the Public is not designed to be a discussion, the board is here to listen. Due to Arizona open meeting law, the governing board cannot respond to, discuss, or take any action on items brought up during this time. However, staff members may be directed to get back to you and address individual concerns. As a reminder, the point of this and every board meeting is to accomplish the business at hand, and to be able to do so in an open and collaborative way. All in attendance are expected to observe meeting rules, as well as rules of politeness and decorum, so that we may serve as an example to our students that issues can be discussed in a respectful and civil manner.
Thank you. Tonight, we have 7 people who have submitted comment cards prior to the start of the meeting, so each speaker will have 3 minutes for remarks. As a reminder, we ask that you please direct your comments to the board. Please state your first and last name when you come to the podium. Our first speaker is, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, and I apologize in advance, Kaylee Call, followed by Joe Liebman.
Board. My name is Keely Call, and please notate that I am reading this statement on behalf of Brad and Sheena Pater. They are sophomore varsity baseball parents at Pinnacle High School. Here is what they say. We want to share some concerns amongst parents and student athletes who are not involved in the conflict with the seniors and their parents on the varsity baseball team. You may not have heard from a parent on the opposite side of the situation. We ask that you hear how negatively this has impacted our underclassmen players and the things they have had to deal with through all of this. First, we would like to express how grateful we are for everything the Pinnacle High School admin and coaches have done for our students and how appreciative we are of the time, effort, and dedication they have shown this program this year. They have spent tireless hours for all student athletes to experience and create lifelong memories. As a parent of an underclassman athlete on this team, we are extremely saddened by the behavior, actions, and absurd allegations that have been brought to the school district by several seniors and their parents. As a parent on the side, we wholeheartedly believe all of this stems from senior players frustrated over playing time, particularly in situations where younger athletes are receiving more opportunities on the field. The frustration of not seeing the field often leads to negative morale and in some cases discourages leadership and unity within the team. This is what my student athlete has had to deal with through all the shenanigans that have occurred and continues to occur. These seniors and their parents have been constantly complaining. To be quite honest, it has been extremely exhausting, mentally draining, and completely ridiculous. We are overwhelmingly disgusted by the immaturity of these students and their parents and can only hope that this behavior does not control this high school program in the future. My son, who is not involved in any of this, has had to endure this roller coaster ride and has expressed he was just so happy that this season is over and for the drama that has come from it to be done. It saddens us that a good majority of this team has had to have such a distasteful experience and see the ugly, not only by these seniors, but their adult parents who have done nothing more than take things to a level that is unimaginable. The younger players who are talented and deserve development opportunities can feel caught in the middle. The pressure of replacing upperclassmen or navigating team conflicts can be a heavy burden for teenagers still finding their footing in the program. We are asking you to consider everything these underclassmen have had to deal with this season as well. We understand the seniors and their parents feel they have been cheated somehow, but please do not forget about the flip side of this situation and what all other players are enduring through the actions of the seniors and their parents. We deeply appreciate the time of the coaching staff invests into these student athletes. Our shared goal is to continue fostering a program built on teamwork, respect, growth, and pride.
Thank you. Next is Joe Liebman, sorry, followed by Luis Silva.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here. My name is Joe Libman. I'm also here with my wife, Heather. We are proud parents of Pinnacle High School. I'm here on behalf of Dr. Smith. Just kind of wanted to talk. There's always two sides to a story, and I kind of wanted to give you our side and our experience. First of all, we've had two kids that have gone through the program at Pinnacle, and then we also have a third that's currently there. And I just want to talk a little bit about their positive experience that they've had and some of the things that they've done. All three kids are very involved in Pinnacle or have been involved in Pinnacle academically and athletically. And Dr. Smith has really been a key part of that, has really been supportive of them. He's been very involved in all of their aspects. My two older kids have gone to college. One has graduated, one's currently in college, and then I have the other one that will definitely go to college. I think he's set a great foundation for the school. Dr. Lanise did a great job, and I think Dr. Smith has taken it to a higher level and has set the school up for continual success. I think he's increased a lot of the attendance. Little story I can remember back in the day, my oldest one, when he was a freshman, homecoming was really kind of downplayed. Now they have about 2,000 kids that go to the homecoming dance and stuff. And so I think just the student involvement in general has been great. The school spirit has been great. You know, the rallies that they've had and stuff like that. I think he's gotten more kids involved in Stugo. So I just want to make sure that we point out all these good things. He's at most of the events that he can go to. It doesn't matter if it's the popular football or basketball, or if it's arts, if it's choir. You'll see Dr. Smith really involved in what's going on at the school. And then lastly, the relationships. I think he has great relationships. I know all three of my kids have had great relationships with him. I know my two older ones, when they come back, they still spend a little time. They reach out, they talk to him. And I know my current student that's there enjoys Dr. Smith and enjoys spending time with him too. So, like I said, there's two sides to every story. We're obviously not baseball people, but at the end of the day, I think as an administrator and what he's done for that school and the trajectory he's put it on, I think he deserves to have that heard. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Luis Silva, followed by Chris Lewis.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak briefly. I'm also here on behalf of Dr. Smith and really the negative publicity that Pinnacle has suffered in this process. My family has been 2 miles away from Pinnacle for 20 years. I've had three kids go through the Pinnacle program, a son that's looking at medical school, a daughter who is in after graduate school, has started a successful career. My wife and I are both, 3 masters between us, heavily focused on education, and we have a current sophomore who is in the Pinnacle program. He's involved in a number of programs, the Student Principal Leadership Advisory Council, Team Impact. Pinnacle has been a part of our family for 20 years, right? And we wouldn't have our kids go anywhere else. So the negative publicity, I'm also not a baseball guy, and I have friends, underclassmen who are in the program. And to be quite frankly, I got excerpts of some of the things that he said, she said, and was written out there. And quite frankly, I don't really care about all that. My kids have had a great experience. So what I want this board to think about in the next person that comes through, because there was a gap in my kids' experience at Pinnacle between Dr. Bales, so they weren't there with Lanise, and 2 of my kids were there during Dr. Smith's tenure. It's been a fantastic ride for us. I think that if you're looking, I think it's unfair, in my view, that a negative situation, an unfortunate situation around one of the athletic programs would tarnish someone's legacy. So I just ask this board to take into consideration that all the good that has come of that. I can tell you that my kids have had great experience, a great educational experience, and athletic experiences. My wife and I are heavily involved in the programs, in the athletics, the boosters. My son is a varsity football player, and I told him to write down, but probably 5 different groups. And we're excited to be part of the community. We're looking forward to turning the page on this, but I think Dr. Smith deserves the recognition for all the good that he's done outside of any particular sport or activity, and overall in the within the academics, and the impact that he's had on families like mine that have been there and wouldn't go anywhere else. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Chris Lewis, followed by Patty Gonzalez.
My name is Chris Lewis. I am a parent of a Pinnacle baseball player who did not quit the team. I'm sharing the perspective of many players, parents, and coaches in regards to the baseball issues caused by the seniors and their parents. There's a lot of important things to share about the claims made online, with the media, and at the last meeting that were intentionally left out. Right after the incident, Adam Marazzo, Jackson's father, showed up to the field, barged into the boys' locker room where kids were changing and in various stages of undress. He was cursing and yelling for Coach Rex. He then went to the coaching office, banged on the door, and screamed, "Where the, F is Coach Rex?" Dr. Smith intervened and walked Mr. Marazzo away from the field to calm things down. Then seniors Jackson Marazzo and Joey Bessemer started yelling profanities at a freshman trying to pick a fight with him. Mr. Marazzo heard the yelling and ran into the area and started to encourage his son to fight. Dr. Smith arrived behind him and told everyone to stop and leave immediately. The yelling and profanities from the seniors continued. When Dr. Smith told them to leave, Joey stood there in defiance. And Dr. Smith told Joey, "You do not want to do this." What has been left out of every statement is Joey's response back to Dr. Smith.
If I could just interrupt for a second, if we could leave student names.
Sure.
Thank you.
You got it. What has been left out of every statement is the student's response back to Dr. Smith. He said, "Or what? You're going to come after me?" Dr. Smith responded, "No, I will suspend you for defiance. Now please leave." Adam Marazzo continued to yell and use profanity towards Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith asked him twice what he said to confirm the profanity, and then told Mr. Abram, the AD, to call the SRO to trespass Adam Marazzo from the school. Everyone then started to leave. The principal handled this situation professionally. He got the situation to stop, got everyone to leave, and not let anyone get hurt. These seniors and their parents are not victims. A week before, some seniors, led by two of the seniors, held a player-only meeting, and one of them started by saying, by a show of hands, "Who here hates Coach Messina?" And then they berated the underclassmen, saying they don't belong on varsity and shouldn't be starting over anyone else. Weekly, this group of seniors would say negative and disrespectful things in the dugout about underclassmen starters playing over them. Several seniors sent the coach an ultimatum letter and then staged a mutiny on their team. When the coach told them that he alone makes the lineup and no one else, they knew their playing time wouldn't change, so they quit. One of the students' mothers, the two students' mothers mother and father had been bad-mouthing the school, the coaches, and the principal because of playing time. The Bessemer family, including her father, had been tweeting and posting to Game Changer.
You can finish since we took some of your time.
Disparaging things towards the coaches and principal prior to the incident. Another convenient omission was Mr. Marazzo came back the night of the incident and continued to scream and yell profanities at the coaches, saying, "I am going to ruin you all," quote unquote. These people and students have been destructive and defamatory. Their kids could not compete for a starting spot, so they created a toxic environment. We find their behavior unacceptable. Thank you to the board for their time. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Patty Gonzalez, followed by Mabeth Robinson. There is Mabeth Robinson. Okay. And she will be followed by Susan Winder.
I'm Mary Beth Robinson, not Patty Gonzalez, just to clarify. I'm going to read my statement. I am the mother of 3 boys in the Paradise Valley School District. We've been incredibly happy in this school district. 2 of my boys attended Pinnacle High School. One is currently there, one graduated in 2023, and I'm just here on behalf of Dr. Smith. My husband and I have been big fans of his ever since he started there. I want you to know that his time at Pinnacle can't be defined by one situation. And it's really unfortunate that there are people out there that are trying to turn against him or turn the entire school against him with misinformation. So during the 4 years that he was there, my oldest son had an amazing time. He was involved in all different activities. He was a varsity athlete on the basketball team and the football team. And he enjoyed all of the social activities. Mr. Libman referred to the homecoming dance. I can tell you, I got videos from it. It was a great experience for all of those kids and something that had been very poorly attended previously, and I hear at other high schools is poorly attended. I think a big part of that is from the leadership. It comes from Dr. Smith and what he has brought to the school and the engagement that he brings among the students. We also went through COVID with Dr. Smith, and I have to say that his time there was incredibly engaging. The kids still felt loved, they felt supported, they felt like they had a home, whether they were online or they were in person. So I think that it's really important that we talk through that. After graduation, my son has gone on to play Division I football and baseball. He's been incredibly successful, but he talks about his time at Pinnacle as some of the best times in his life. He still comes back. He supports the kids. He was there this week at football practice to make sure they know the support and the love that the alumni have, and that starts from the top. Our freshman that is there now is part of Dr. Smith's leadership group. He is just starting his journey, but he's really enjoyed that time. I don't have any personal connection to the baseball team. I can't speak to any of that, but it does feel like it's an isolated incident. And it's among a very small subset of parents who are just really loud online and really loud in whoever they talk to. So I just want to make sure that my voice is heard. I know there's other people that feel the same way, and share that Dr. Smith has shown up time and time again for our kids, for other kids. He's empathetic, he's supportive, his leadership shows through. I'm hopeful that his time will be remembered by all the great work he did, and that he receives the support that he deserves from this leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Susan Winder, and last will be Lori Berman.
I'm going to switch topics. Good evening, Dr. Reynolds, board members, and cabinet. I would like to take this opportunity tonight to publicly thank Dr. Reynolds for giving us 1 year of his life as the interim superintendent for PVUSD. I would also like to thank him for his openness in addressing in addressing President Trump's executive order over DEI by asking the department heads to go through all of their material, public and private, and make sure none of it was pertaining to DEI. I would also like to thank the board for supporting him in this endeavor. Many of you know that I have held the position of teacher, counselor, principal, and college professor. I have lived in 6 different states and have either worked or been involved with school districts in these states. I have left each state with little to no respect for the superintendents I encountered. All of them had hidden agendas and were into the power of their position. Dr. Reynolds, you are in no way like any other superintendent I have ever encountered. You have no hidden agenda, and you are open and honest in your interactions with employees and the public. The only agenda that I observed that you have was that of student learning and achievement. I am sorry that you chose not to apply for the full-time position of superintendent for PVUSD. That is our loss. I would share with the incoming superintendent that he has big shoes to fill. Dr. Reynolds, thank you. You for who you are and the time you have given to the education field. Your actions and influences will be missed. Thank you.
And finally, Lori Berman.
Hi there, good evening. Good evening, Superintendent Reynolds, President Greenberg, board, and PVUSD community. My name is Lori Berman. For 17 years, I have been a volunteer in this incredible school district, walking alongside my children as they grew and learned. In case you're wondering, that's 107 months of school, 428 weeks of school, 2,996 days of school, and an uncountable number of cherished hours spent in classrooms, gyms, auditoriums, on numerous committees, and in meetings. Over these years, I have witnessed the true power of education and the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in shaping not just our children, but our entire community. I've seen friendships blossom, students find their voice, and young minds find their potential. The strength of this district lies in the incredible teachers and staff who make each day meaningful for our kids. To the teachers who have sparked curiosity, nurtured growth,
and provided unwavering support, thank you. You have guided our children through the ups and downs, even the most challenging times like the uncertainty of the COVID years. To the administrators who keep this district moving forward, thank you for your leadership and dedication. Like many families, my husband and I chose our home based on the strength of this school district, and you have upheld that trust. Thank you to the UPC community, a group of determined, mindful, and dedicated parents and community members, many of whom hold special places in my heart. Your commitment to supporting our schools is truly inspiring. To our school board, thank you for your tireless efforts in keeping our district strong and forward-looking. However, I must call for better support from Sandra Christensen for inclusion for all students and families, regardless of race, religion, or orientation. Your leadership needs to improve. Finally, thank you to all who make PVUSD the remarkable community it is. Your efforts do not go unnoticed, and they are deeply appreciated. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Next on the agenda are items. Oh. Mrs. Christensen?
Yeah. So when a governing board member's name, go ahead. Yeah, is called out, then we are allowed to. And I just wanted to say I appreciate you, Lori, and I know how much you've worked. I worked with you at Horizon High School, and so I do appreciate all the work that all the people in our district do. And every student needs and deserves a good education. And we need to set the bar high for all our students, regardless of their race, gender, anything. But I don't think we need to put our students in little boxes. I'm a Latina. I grew up in New Mexico. I didn't even know I was a minority growing up because we didn't really talk about that. And my parents didn't go to they went to high school. They didn't go to college. And so I've always worked very hard. And I think it's really important to just focus on achievement and set the bar high for all our students, regardless. And I do agree with you. All of our students, regardless of their race or their socioeconomic background, need to be loved, respected, and have a good education. So thank you for your comments. I appreciate it.
Now, next on the agenda are items for discussion. First will be consideration of revisions to the Family Student Handbook for 2025-26, and I will turn it over to Dr. Corson.
President Greenberg, members of the governing board, cabinet and guests, tonight, Dr. Chris Asmussen, our Director of Student Services for Secondary, is going to lead us in the first read of the Family Student Handbook revisions. Dr. Asmussen?
Thank you, Dr. Corson. President Greenberg, members of the governing board, Dr. Reynolds, cabinet, and members of our community. Again, my name is Dr. Chris Asmussen, and I am pleased to present the recommendations for the 2025-2026 Family Student Handbook. Tonight, I will review the purpose of the Family Student Handbook Review Committee, the committee makeup, and the process and timeline the committee followed, as well as notable recommended changes. The purpose of the committee was to review the Family Student Handbook language and to ensure that the document clearly and accurately communicates the Paradise Valley Unified School District's policies, procedures, and practices. The Family Student Handbook Review Committee was created following the district's call for committee process, asking that each stakeholder group recommend members from their group to serve on this committee. You can see that the committee was made up of parents, educational support personnel, teachers, and administrators. We had representation from elementary, middle, and high schools, and from learning communities around our district. I would like to thank these individuals. They gave their time, their energy, and their talent to this large endeavor. They took their work very seriously, and they represented their stakeholder group well.
For each of the sections that pertain to a specific director or district lead, their input was also gathered. The district lead or director was asked to review the current language in the handbook and to provide their recommendations for changes, if any. The committee then reviewed their suggestions as presented. Further, if during our review we developed any questions or if we were seeking additional clarification, we looped back to that director or to that district lead for additional input. I would also like to thank Dr. Danielle Else, my counterpart, the Director of Student Services for Elementary Education, for co-facilitating the committee's work, and to Dr. Corson, our Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Leadership, for sponsoring our work. The Family Student Handbook review process began in late November when directors and district leads received language from the handbook that pertained to their department. They were asked to review the language and make recommendations for any changes. On February 6th, with preliminary work completed by the directors, the Handbook Review Committee began their review process. The committee met 6 times for a total of 9 hours, finishing our line-by-line review on March 20th. On March 26th, the committee was given a red line copy to review and either approve or suggest additional revisions. Through this process, an additional recommendation was presented by a committee member. Language was developed and presented to the rest of the committee for consideration. On April 7th, the committee not only approved the new suggested language, they approved the entire red line document, and we prepared to bring the revised handbook to the board. While the committee was prepared to present the first reading of the recommended changes to the handbook on April 17th, we were asked to pause and review the document one final time to ensure that the district could sign the FERPA and DEI assurances that were due on April 24th without worry. This delay proved beneficial because on April 14th, Governor Hobbs signed House Bill 2484, limiting the use of wireless technology and social media on school campuses during the school day. And then again, on April 18th, the governor signed House Bill 2514, requiring annual notice to parents of their right to be involved in their child's education. On May 1st, the committee received information on both bills, now signed into law, and additional language to consider to communicate how this new legislation impacts our practices. On May 5th, the committee approved all recommended revisions to the 25-26 Family Student Handbook for a final time. Having facilitated the handbook review for 3 years, I asked each committee to examine the document and correct grammatical errors through a line-by-line review. Despite 3 committees' work, errors persist, likely due to the numerous contributors across its various sections. Recognizing the need for further refinement, I have enlisted an experienced ELA specialist and proofreader to review the entire document once it's in black-line version for any remaining errors before we present the final document at the June 5th board meeting. She will look at formatting and visual appeal in addition to grammar and punctuation. The committee also closely examined each of the hyperlinks that are embedded throughout the document, ensuring that the links are active and take the user to the desired location. We discussed which hyperlinks should be provided, ultimately agreeing to include links to our board policies, Arizona revised statutes, PV schools forms, including those forms that are used for school lunch accounts, and anonymous tips. For the document to clearly convey our practices, it has to read easily. While this was top of mind throughout our review, the committee did give special attention to 2 sections: attendance requirements and digital citizenship and student technology use. Chronic absenteeism and emerging technologies are timely topics, and we wanted to make sure that these sections were easy to read and comprehend. While there is new language in these sections, much of the language was already there and was simply reorganized to increase its readability. Sweetwater Community School is often thought of as a school where students who are in trouble are sent, when in actuality, the vast majority of the students attending Sweetwater are there by choice, many in an effort to catch up on credits. The committee recommends adding language that reflects all of the reasons why a student may be assigned or referred to alternative education. The committee was also made aware of a requirement for the Asbestos Hazard Emergency Response Act of 1986 that families are to be notified annually that the district inspects schools for asbestos and all schools have an asbestos plan, which is maintained in the school office. The committee recommends adding this language to the Family Student Handbook to meet the reporting requirements of the AHERA Act. As previously stated, the committee recommends hyperlinks to the board policies referenced in the handbook. The committee also encourages parents and guardians to familiarize themselves with all of our board policies. And to that point, we recommend adding language and a link to where all policies can be found. In an era of cell phones and social media, schools are often called upon to address unkind and bullying behavior that takes place between students using digital technologies. Sometimes those interactions take place outside of the school hours and off campus. However, if there is a nexus to the school has the right and the responsibility to intervene. The committee recommends adding additional language where appropriate throughout the handbook to define cyberbullying and to inform students and families of the possible consequences for engaging in such behavior. And speaking of cell phones, as stated before, there is new legislation limiting wireless communication devices and social media access during the school day. These devices can only be used for educational purposes, in emergency situations, and when medically necessary. For example, a student may monitor their blood glucose levels on their phone. The committee recommends adding language to the handbook that informs parents and guardians that our schools will adhere to this new legislation. Additionally, this past year, Mr. Billings and the IT department implemented a layered approach of releasing student permissions within the Google Suite, ensuring appropriate access to email and chat as students progress through their grade levels. And since the last revision, artificial intelligence and generative technology have become more advanced and are increasingly more woven into the educational process. The committee recommends adding language to the handbook to notify parents and guardians when certain technology permissions are granted to our students. And we also recommend adding language stating that the district's expectation that when using artificial intelligence and generative technology. This past year, PV schools added a new restorative practice opportunity for those students who violate the district tobacco policy. A student who is using or in possession of a nicotine product such as tobacco vape, chewing tobacco, or a cigarette may have their consequences reduced if the family agrees to have their child participate in a nicotine awareness program. The committee recommends adding this language to the handbook and making our parents and guardians aware of this new restorative practice and the resource available to them. Our schools are staffed with social workers, school counselors, school psychologists, and other staff willing and able to support students and families. In addition, on our website, we list some resources available to our parents and guardians. The committee recommends adding language to our handbook, directing families in need to their school or to our website for additional help and support. Across our district, parents and guardians donate their time, resources to our schools. Many donate treats to their child's classroom. Yet, there are students who have life-threatening allergies, and we have an obligation to maintain a safe environment for them. The committee recommends adding language to the handbook, reminding parents and guardians to check with the school before bringing food into the classroom. A few times each year, for a variety of reasons, high school students drop a course after the 20th day without realizing that per record-keeping guidelines, the course will remain on their transcript with a failing grade. Students can retake the class and earn a replacement grade, but the F remains on the transcript. The committee recommends adding language to the handbook alerting high school students and their families to this record-keeping practice. The committee also recommends adding language to the handbook to notify parents of their right to be involved in their child's education. Included in the new language is information on how parents can access the Follett Destiny system to review books and learning materials in their school's media center collection. And it directs parents to where they can find information on human growth and development curriculum and the clubs and organizations offered at their child's school. The committee noticed that the language in the Parent Guardian Resource section was really language describing the PV Schools United Parent Council. The committee recommends retitling this section to PV Schools United Parent Council and dedicating all of the language in this section specific to UPC. And it was noted that this section was out of alpha order, and it has since been corrected. We live in a fast-paced society, and parents and guardians may call upon other friends and family members to pick up their child from school. However, we cannot release students under our care to just anybody. The committee recommends adding language to the handbook that explains our process and procedures for student pickup. And then a final notable change in the general policy section relates to e-bikes. This past year, our school resource officer team made us aware of the Phoenix City codes related to electronically motorized bicycles. We learned that in the city of Phoenix, you must be 18 years of age to ride an e-bike, and many of our site leaders can share stories of why that's a good idea. They have seen many near misses and many students riding in an unsafe manner. As it is against city code for individuals under 18 to operate e-bikes, students at PV schools are not permitted to ride them to school. Beyond the legal implications, our primary concern is the health, safety, and welfare of all of our students, as well as others in our community who are coming to and going from school. The committee recommends adding language to the handbook to communicate this to our families. There were very few recommended changes to Section 4 under behavior expectations. Arizona Revised Statute 15-843 provides guidance on issuing a suspension to students who are in kindergarten through 4th grade. The committee recommended that in addition to providing the statute number, that we also provide the language that explains the statute and thus our practice. And then under the cheating or plagiarism, under the definition of either cheating or plagiarism, several assistant principals and the committee felt it important to add language around AI and or generative technologies. As this technology advances, teachers are seeing an increase in the number of students turning in work that technically should be attributed to AI, and the student is passing it off as their own. The committee recommends adding language that defines the submission of work produced by generative technology as one's own as cheating. Please know that we plan to continue to update language surrounding AI and generative technology with input from various groups, including Student Voice, from the Information and Technology Department, and from our site leaders and teachers and parents from the community. One last time, I'd like to express my gratitude to those that served on the committee and to all of the directors and lead staff who took the time to review the language and to help us refine the handbook so it is not only informative, but it is user-friendly. Those involved took the work seriously, and as you can see, this year's line-by-line review yielded several changes to our handbook. And as a reminder, this is a first read, and we will bring it back to you in June for approval. And at this point, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much, Dr. Osmondson. Does anybody have, that was a lot. Does anybody have Mr. Pantera? I almost
Thank you,
promoted
President
you there.
Greenberg. I like the fact that there's this restorative practices part. It's not just punishing students, it gives them a positive pathway to get back, get their act together and come back. You mentioned the F on the, if they get F on a course and it stays there, but correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't it also state that if they retake the class and pass it, that F becomes just a 0 as far as GPA goes?
Correct. So it is not calculated into the GPA, but it is noted on the transcript. The new grade will then be calculated into the student's GPA.
Thank you. In regards to the technologies information, the bullying part, it's very specific, but it doesn't address student-to-student bullying outside of school time and without school technology. What if it's their own phones, their own technology, and students-to-student bullying? We're not involved with that. It's not mentioned in the handbook.
If the committee spent time really focusing in on cyberbullying and making sure that we were defining that. But any time that there is student unkind behavior to other students, if there is a connection back to the school and it impacts our educational process, then we have the right and the responsibility to address it.
So it could be outside of school time and without school technology, but if it's still bullying, it's still bullying.
If there's a nexus to the school.
Okay, and I just one more question, is that all right? In section 10, there's this phrase that I I'm not having trouble understanding. So regarding to Arizona Revised Statutes 151046, this sentence, if I may just read it. Students placed in a restricted user group will have access to adopted curriculum sites only, and requests for additional apps and services based on individual student needs or requests are unable to be honored. What does that actually mean then?
Board Member Pantera, so we have the ability that if a student is misusing their computer, oftentimes what we see is like maybe students are trying to communicate with adults outside of the school setting. That will cause concern, and so either their parents or the school can now limit their access. So it restricts the websites that they can visit. It restricts their ability to use chat and email. When we put a student into that restricted user group, they might be in an automotive class as an example, and the teacher is using a website that they want their students to go to get information on automotive things. If that website is not already part of the restricted user group, we can't add it in for that one student.
So that's what it means, unable to.
Right. So the restricted user group is set up strictly for our curriculum sites that have been pre-approved, and we can't cafeteria style for all the students that go into that group. It's important for us to have that language inside of the into the handbook, because most often the person requesting the student to go into a restricted group is their parent. So we want to make sure that they're fully aware of what that means when we place a student into restricted OU.
All right, thank you. I kind of thought that was what it meant, but I wanted to be sure. Thank you very much.
Dr. Lim?
So thinking a little bit about this handbook, the scooters and the e-bikes caught my attention. Not because we didn't have this in there. I appreciate that we now have this in there, but more as a parent, most of us aren't sitting down and reading the handbook every time we update it to see what the new ones are. So how are we working to get these changes, especially ones like that that are going to impact some of our high school students that are probably coming to school on e-bikes and makes their parents' lives a little easier that they're going to school themselves this way? How are we going to translate that down into the schools to make sure parents become aware of these that aren't just our policy things, but these are actually state level concerns?
Board Member Lim, when we first learned of this, what we did is we worked with our marketing and communications department and crafted some language that we could send out to all of our families, notifying them of this change. This year, upon request from our site leaders, we are going to provide all of our site leaders with the red line copy, so that way they can see all of the new additions to the book. And then I have the pleasure of working closely with our assistant principals, TOAs, and deans, as they are our primary disciplinarians, and we meet with them quarterly, and have also begun offering some lunch and learns, but since we can't get them at lunch, we call them AP Plus meetings. So that'll be additional opportunities for us to discuss as a group on how to best communicate these items, the real timely topics, to our parent community.
Thank you for that clarity.
Does anybody, Ms. Wani?
I have a few. So what I have something specific to the e-bikes, and if it's okay, and if my fellow board member, I'm fine to talk to this, and then if you want to go, because if you are going to hit some of the things on my list, I don't need to go there. So do you want to go? Do you want me to do my whole list, or you want me to? All right, I'm gonna do my whole list. Okay,
Go for it.
let's start with the e-bikes. Okay, so I have I think an update here that I would ask that you look into. My understanding is that the Phoenix City Ordinance is not 18, that it was actually changed March 27th, 2025, and it is 16. So I just want to make sure that whatever information is sent out to parents, let's like triple check that it's the most current. It's my understanding it was 18, then it was 16, or it was 16, then it was 18, and now it's back to 16. Very recent change. So I do think it's going to impact a lot of families. So I don't want there to be confusion around it on that one. And I think it's 36,510, if you want to just hone in on that one. So, okay, can I ask a general question? So any phrasing or just like grammatic things that maybe go to clarifying? Like, is that something we should I just stick to substantive things at this point? This is a general question to anyone who feels like answering that question. Give me some feedback.
Are you referring specifically to anything grammatical or
Or, yeah, just
punctuation?
like there's a couple sections that I think are a little bit hard to understand that need to be wordsmithed.
So
You could give me the titles of
Okay.
those and I would be happy to
Okay.
take that back.
Okay, because I just want to make good use of this time. So I'm a team player, okay, guys? Okay, so right under regular attendance, I really appreciate the spirit of what is trying to be communicated here. I think it's kind of, I think, got lost a little bit for me. So, and I do have some recommendations. I don't know if you want to take them, but I'm happy to say them out loud if you would like. But something in the world of, when regular attendance is key to student success. Regular attendance is defined as being present at least 90% of the time. When students miss school, they miss out on valuable lessons, class discussions, and activities, and hard to make up work. We understand sometimes absences are unavoidable. Students should stay home only when necessary. If your child has frequent absences due to illness, medical notations may be requested to help us support students' needs and maintain accurate records. I felt like it, and I think I tried to get everything in there. I just wanted to maybe give a shot at saying it a little bit more directly. I have some questions about some of this that I just would like to know about with the absences, if they're like state policy, or if they're district policy, because I wasn't sure. So for example, I referred to this earlier in the context of vision exams. So for elementary school students, arriving 20 minutes or more late to school is documented as a half-day absence. Is that based upon state legislative? Okay, so I gotta go lobby our legislators on that one. So okay, we'll move past that. The unexcused absences, and same question. A full day unexcused absence is any absence from school without the prior knowledge and consent of the parent. So any absence that a parent has not called in about is automatically considered unexcused. And that's also state, correct? Okay. Thank you, because I have a couple more questions that are going to have to do with this. So when we talk then about makeup work, that provision there. So makeup work, it's the student's responsibility to ensure that all work is requested. And then there's 2 bullets. The first bullet is credit may not be given for work missed during a truant absence being any unexcused absence, which we just decided is defined by, right, the state. So is the first bullet, credit may not be given for work missed during a truant absence, is that state policy or district policy?
It's district?
that would be district.
Okay. And is that so that's a may, not a must. So I'm asking because is this a discretionary thing that's left up teacher to teacher?
It does become discretionary because I will share with you that the teachers work exceptionally hard to keep kids current, and when they are absent, even though after that 18th day and they haven't provided a doctor's note to excuse the absent, or if it's an unexcused absence, I think our teachers care tremendously about their students and their students' progress, and they chase after them and give them the work and continue to encourage them to do the makeup work and to make up the assessments that they've missed. But by policy, if it's an unexcused absence or a truant absence, then the teacher could not accept that work.
So I guess that just concerns me because at the end of the day, a student could be going home and saying, Mom, I need you to call the school. Mom, I need you to call the school. Mom, I need you to call the school. And the kid's doing the work and the kid's doing the work and the kid's doing the work. And mom doesn't call the school. Who knows why? Mom's depressed, right? Whatever it is, right? Or dad, because it's dad's responsibility too. And so I don't know how often something like that happens. I don't know if you look at that sort of data, but I have to like, when I read that, like, that's where my mind goes. And I deal with a lot of families, and I'm like, I know those kids, those parents are not calling in absences, and I know what their absences look like. And it feels like a double whammy, right? Kid misses school for whatever reason. It goes unexcused because mom or dad or guardian doesn't call it in. it just exacerbates the problem. And I felt like I needed to just call that out. I understand being in school is important for that, the whole thing I started with. I really believe that, obviously, but at the same time, I'm very concerned about, and I'm also a little bit concerned about the non-uniform execution of something like that a little bit, to be honest with you. So just, I wanted to raise that. And then going down to guidelines for unexcused, truant, and excessive absences, 1 or 2 absences, the attendance dean or teacher may assign after-school detention, before school detention, or lunch detention. I'm just going to reiterate, I have another concern here. So 1 absence, and I don't want to make this a bigger thing than it is, but it's written here. And as a parent, I'm pretty involved. And there are times where my kid has to remind me a couple times, hey, mom, you got to call. You remember? And I just worry that a student is potentially being punished for something that they have absolutely no control over. So it's just this 1 or 2 absence thing that is concerning to me. It just seems like a very low offender at that point. Athletic participation. This is just a minor thing. I think maybe it meant to say the health and welfare of our students are the most important concerns in Paradise Valley, but it says the health and welfare of our student athletes are the most important concerns in Paradise Valley, which to me, right, I don't have athlete kids, and it makes me feel like you don't care about my kid because they're not a student athlete. So we care about all our students. I assume that's probably the intent there. Okay, now I got it. So I told you, I warned you guys, I had notes. So bullying, okay. I am not right? My background, I'm not a social worker. Right? That's not, we've got experts in this room. Most of you, I'm sure, all know more about this than I do. So please tell me if I am way off here. But this paragraph about if you are being bullied, harassed, intimidated, or threatened, make your feelings clear. Tell the person who is bullying, harassing, or intimidating you to stop. I think I have concerns about a policy that feels a little bit like it's shifting some of this responsibility onto a potential victim in a situation. I understand we want students to advocate for themselves, but I think this needs to maybe just another shot at this that maybe acknowledges, if you feel safe, please tell the person to stop. Other options are with just clear bullets, right? If you do, right, tell a parent, tell a trusted adult, tell a principal, because I think, unfortunately, whether we call it bullying or whatever, I think most of our kids, we've all experienced a situation where they come home, something happens, and they're coming to you, I hope, and you can support them. I would never want a kiddo to feel like there's something wrong with them or the responsibility is shifted to them. So I understand the spirit of it. I just would ask that maybe there's a way to reframe that a little bit. This is a really silly minor one, but caught it, so I may as well just tell you. Under digital citizenship, the paragraph about network access, and then at one point it lists web apps, portals, Google Suites, YouTube. It's just chat. I think that needs to just say Google Chat, right? It's not any chat, because I'm like, well, they're not allowed to just use any chat, right? It's got to be Google Chat. Am I correct in that? Assuming that? Okay. Almost done, guys. Okay. I do appreciate and really just want to make a comment that I really like the parent guardian right to be actively involved in their education and how it explicitly goes through, right, how you can do that. It's not leaving people hanging. I think it's really clear. A recommendation, take it or leave it, but under release of students, right? I just might suggest, because I think a lot of parents don't necessarily think specifically about this, but I appreciate, unless there's a restricted court order signed by a judge, right? My suggestion would maybe just be to add in there, unless there's a restricted court order regarding parenting time and a sole legal decision education order, because now we do have these education orders, and I don't know that parents always realize if you have a sole legal decision making education order, you should be providing that to the school. And I think maybe explicitly saying that, it might trigger somebody who's like, oh, I've got one of those. That's right. I should give that to the school, because that's kind of, I think, what we're talking about here. It's just using our specific language, right, in family law. We talked about the e-bikes. That might possibly be I'm done. I'm done. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for the suggestions.
Mrs. Christensen, do you have anything? Okay.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for answering all our questions. On page 15 of the red line version, I think it's 15. No, it's actually 16 where it says drug, alcohol, and nicotine prevention programs. I was wondering if there was, it says that schools have limited supply of home drug test kits that can be provided to concerned parents. When I worked at the Arizona Department of Education, I know that they were providing free Narcans to school districts. Would that be included? Because that could help save a life. And I was just wondering if that's included with that, or does anybody know? So it says schools have a limited supply of home drug test kits. So are there any Narcans?
There is Narcan on our campuses. The nurses
I know
are
it's on the campuses, but what about to include in the
to give
test?
away.
Yeah, is that not available?
Yeah, I don't believe we have
Is
the
there such
supply
a
of
limited
Narcan to be,
supply?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then I had some things on, I think Miss Swanee covered a lot of the other things that I was going to mention. So I think for me, I'm good for now.
Thank you.
I had a couple, so if, while I talk, if it comes up, if you find anything else. Page 13, where we talk about the digital citizenship and student technology use section, the paragraph was added and it starts out, while the district limits the use of personal cell phones as a standard practice during the school day, individual school sites will develop and implement specific practices and procedures. So use of the word will is a must, it's a shall. But now I think Ms. Wani kind of touched on this with some other things. It feels like it could become inconsistent. And whereas I can well understand there may be a difference between something happening, at a high school versus an elementary, I'm a little concerned if there's something happening at high school A versus high school B that suddenly, one is more lenient or one is more, restrictive or one is more, and we're trying, for example, with student voice, we've been trying to come up with consistent looks at AI so that you're not in one classroom with the teacher saying no and the next classroom the teacher saying yes. And I would hope that in sort of this verbiage as well, we kind of look to more consistency as opposed to I'm just concerned that, we're not quite getting that. And just to sort of expand on something Ms. Wani said, she touched upon this with some other things, like with the bullying, basically recommendations for something a person could say to someone who's bullying them. Well, are those suggestions? Is that a guideline? It feels like we could sort of take, and I appreciate all the work and maybe in terms of bringing somebody on to look at just, once everything's done and all the track changes are in and they go and they look at it, just making sure that as we go through verbiage, it's it's understood what's really policy versus what's a recommendation or what's a suggestion or what's a this, the change in tone between us, we tend to use we, meaning the district. Sometimes we use parents, sometimes we use you, sometimes. So just kind of getting a feel for, when things are talking to our families and when, in terms of explicit policy or explicit guidance or whatever, and when things may be suggestions and that sort of thing. But the one in particular, by using will, it does sound like, every site is going to come up with specific practices and procedures. And again, I'm a little concerned what happens when those get a little too varied from site to site.
So that language, and I'm going to look to Dr. Asmussen, that language comes directly from the law.
Okay.
And so the very new law. And so we're complying with that. And I think probably over the summer and fall, we'll be working with schools to figure out how we're going to best comply with that. Is that fair?
Yes, that's fair to go back to the sites to work with them, but where that will came in is that, currently the individual sites have developed their own practices on how they're responding to cell phones. Some campuses, like right now, before the law has gone into effect, have already limited the use of cell phones from bell to bell, including the lunch times, as an example. Some campuses right now have been experimenting with the process, so they might limit during the educational time, but not necessarily during passing or during the meal times. And some of our campuses are just completely leaving it up to our teachers and how they're doing it inside. We're going to have to work with our site leaders per grade band on how to best implement the new cell phone limitations. Schools that will have to develop the processes and the procedures that meet the climate and the culture of their community. So right now, and you mentioned it, Board Member Greenberg, that you might have a middle school right now that has no problem in implementing no cell phones during mealtime. But that may not be an easy implementation when we get to a high school with 2,400 kids and a limited number of people supervising. So that campus is going to have to come up with a process and a procedure to meet the law, and yet not at the same time for 35 minutes say, put your phone away, put your phone away, put your phone away, put your phone away, put your phone away. And so they're going to have to develop their process and procedures unique to their campus and their community.
Thank you. Another question was on page 14, and I had sent this to Dr. Reynolds earlier when we talk about digital equity and digital privacy. And there's some bullet points here that are great bullet points about, but again, these are guidelines. So what happens if somebody doesn't obtain permission and posts a picture of a student or, any one of these situations that we talk about?
And to that point, we can consequence students when they post inappropriate content or, something that negatively impacts somebody else. We've not yet had a complaint about a parent's social media posting that infringed on somebody else's right to privacy, but it can happen. And knowing that we cannot consequence a parent like we would consequence a student, we could, however, exclude that student from attending an event or trespass them off of our campus. Of course, we wouldn't go right to, from 0 to 100. We would try to work with that parent and have a conversation about why it's important for them to frame or to refrain from posting pictures of somebody else. And if that behavior continued, then we would have to take a more stern approach.
So would it make sense to consider putting language in here that basically alerts parents and guardians that their behavior could have consequences for their student? Because it feels like, again, that's a little bit of what Ms. Wani was talking about in terms of that becomes a situation out of the control of the student, yet it's the student who could potentially suffer for it. So might want to maybe consider language where those situations could occur.
Consider that for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And Mrs. Christensen?
Yeah, to piggyback on that last comment, when my student was in elementary school, there was a popular thing that rhymed with pics, and it was something pics that some boys were doing, and we had somebody come on campus and explain to the parents and the students that that is child pornography and that it could go on their record. And so when you're talking about consequences, that just kind of triggered, it is a serious thing with some of this. And, they maybe boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever pictures. And so I think that our students really need to understand, even though they are minors, and some of this can be very serious and can go on their permanent record. And I don't know what that means for the student handbook, but
Yeah, I'm not sure that would be something that we would work that would be appropriate for the student handbook, but I know that our schools do a really, really good job working with students and making sure that they understand through their digital citizenship programs what is appropriate and what is not, in an effort to prevent a student from finding themselves in a situation that's that they may not have been aware of.
If I may add, you know, the other thing that we're blessed with is the number of school resource officers. So as students make these errors, we've worked very hard with our disciplinarians that as the student comes back or after the consequence has been imposed, that we start looking at support for that child and that family. And that's where we make the use of our school resource officers to have those conversations with students and with families if it had something to do around like an inappropriate pornographic picture that had been sent from cell phone to cell phone. So we do capture that. I don't know how I'd put that in language, you know, but something we can consider.
Thank you.
Does Ms. Wani?
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay, so this just had me also just thinking within the context of this broader conversation we're having. So you know, so we have the bullying and then we have like the digital pieces. I'm wondering if maybe it's just something to take back to the committee to have a discussion around what happens when we sort of combine the two, right? I don't know about you, but I've certainly seen videos of some horrific fights at schools where we've got, right, tons of students are taking video, they're uploading that, and it is unfortunately, and it's not something that's unique to PV. I was at a football game at I will not name the name of the Scottsdale school, but it was in real time. The kids I'm with are showing me videos of what's happening in front of us, and it was honestly one of the most horrific things I've ever seen. So I think I think right at the end of the day, parents obviously have to be having these conversations with our kids, and we need to be emphasizing and reiterating, right? Like, what do we do? And there is that section about if you see somebody being bullied. I think I would love for you all to have a conversation just to see what you might come up with around something that explicitly calls out consequences for students that are all standing there with their phone recording somebody getting their head kicked in on the ground, right? And now have now created a tremendous liability, and teachers and staff can't even get to it. And I mean, thankfully, this is not a like super regular occurrence, but I think we know it happens, and it usually happens at the high school level, and it happens in other districts as well. And I would like us to be calling out our community explicitly that this is not acceptable behavior, even though it's sort of in a sad way almost become the norm, like nationwide. So just food for thought to maybe put something in there about that.
And of course, we appreciate that, right? I do want to remind the board that the handbook is not, right? The purpose of the handbook is not to address every single behavior that is out there. That's a significant one, right? And part of that digital citizenship and communication. But the handbook really is designed to address general areas. We have other, right? It doesn't spell out every practice that we have in the district that our assistant principals use, our dean of students use, principals use. But it is designed to address topic areas to draw attention to those different areas.
Does anybody, sorry.
Oh, just to speak to that, I mean, as Dr. Reynolds was just sharing, where our disciplinarians would add that in is in citing. So they would, you know, those students that were found responsible for filming, if that was, you know, part of the fight and people are fighting because they're filming, then we would see our disciplinarians work with a student for inciting that fight.
So just to your point, and point taken, I mean, we couldn't possibly list all the things. I think though, this feels very detailed and comprehensive. And so when things then, I think the big things are not in here, it kind of, for me at least, jumps out. So I think I appreciate the effort for being like as clear and specific as possible. And which is why I think just bringing some of that back as a conversation, and maybe even maybe a statement, Dr. Reynolds, that says what you just said, right? This is not meant to be a comprehensive, and maybe it does, but this is not, right? Like, if it's not in here, it doesn't mean it's okay, or it doesn't, right? Like, this is meant to give you, be like sort of the blueprint, right? To sort of give you the outline of what we're trying to address in this, right, in this document. Here's where you can go to for follow-up, or I don't know, something to that effect.
Does anybody else have any other questions, comments? Thank you, Dr. Rasmussen. This was first read, so hopefully we'll get it back at the next board meeting for approval.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda is consideration and discussion of items, discussion of issues or items or whatever for the Arizona School Boards Association Legislative Committee's consideration in ASBA's 2026 agenda. The script says Anne will provide a brief overview of the process. Here's a brief overview of the process. So for those of you who some of us have been doing this for a couple of years or longer, and a couple of you are new, ASBA annually has its legislative committee come together, look at the political agenda for the past several years. Well, really traditionally it has started with whatever the current year's agenda is, and then looks at the different issues. The agenda when I was first on the committee many, many years ago used to be really thick, and I was involved with the process of getting it down to a more manageable size. It's feeling like it's starting to get big again, but at least it still fits on, 2 pages. So what the committee will do, if they are honing to the process that they have, is every district who chooses to send something in will be sending in their top 5 priorities in terms of what's here now. And then if we've got a couple of potential new things, or I suppose I've seen over time where people or districts will take something that's here and rewrite it a little bit if they feel it needs that. But they're asking for the top 5 and then 2 new ones. This is first read, so we get to talk about it, and then take, any action we would take will be at the next meeting. And I hope everybody got a chance to look. I did ask Ms. Chisholm to send out what we've done for the past few years, so you can see, I think there's a couple we've kind of keep bringing, saying these are priorities, but we've, over time done some different things. So that's my brief overview of the process, and I will open it up for input. I hope, if you've had a chance and you've marked ones that you all feel make sense, hopefully we'll be able to focus in on 4 or 5, and then we can look at possible new ones. Anybody want to start? Mr. Pantera.
I just want to say that, they listen to districts and what they say at this meeting. If you'll notice that where it says the very first page there under adequate and equitable funding, there's a long list of things they wanted funding for. There's JROTC. That never used to be there, but because we decided that maybe should be something there, our board brought it to the meeting and it got approved. It got added to this. So I'll let you know that they do pay attention. They listen to reasonable rationale.
Thank you. Do you have any top 5 you'd like to throw into the mix?
I do. I mean, I like them all, but you got a top 5. So to get things rolling, I like that repeal the constitutional aggregate expenditure limit. That's under that first section there. It's right under JRTC. And I like the one about redefine the role and purposes of standardized testing and develop meaningful assessments and other measurable outcomes. And redefining how we do state testing.
Where is that one?
That's under the purple one, the 3rd section. Improve opportunities and outcomes for all students.
Hold on. So
I also like
redefine
the role and purpose of standardized testing.
Okay. That's two. Did you
And then I
just have a
like
third one?
support policy that protects school district employees and students from discrimination, including on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity.
Okay.
And then the next section about public accountability. I like repeal any program that gives funds for private schools, vouchers, etc. That one there.
Okay.
And then under school safety and security, I support policy that promotes social emotional wellness as a critical component of improving social climate, safety, and learning. And those are ones that, I mean, I don't like them all, but yeah, 5. Those are the ones that, pop out to me,
Okay.
help our students.
Thank you, Mr. Pantera. That was 5. Anybody else have any they would like to toss into the mix?
Seems like
Dr.
I'm
Lynn?
prepared, so I will go and give our ladies over there time to formulate their thoughts. So the ones that stuck out to me was in the first section, the fully fund full day kindergarten and include kindergarten students in the override calculation. I think is an invaluable one considering we're a district that's had full kindergarten not fully funded for quite some time. So I think that one definitely stands out to me. And then I know we have a robust preschool program, so a fully funded preschool program in the K-12 funding formula for districts that offer preschool, I think would be obviously beneficial to our district and its growing preschool programs. Under the next section, opposing any legislation that intends to lessen or curtail the legal authorities of local elected school boards, including their authority to approve curriculum, I think is important because each district and each space they're in is unique and different, and we have to recognize those curriculums need to meet the communities. I agreed with Tony's redefine the role and purpose of standardized testing and develop measurable assessments and other measurable outcomes. And then because I am an individual with a disability and I know how much my disability support got me to where I am today as a doctor, fully funded Individuals for Disability Education Act at the federal advocacy level stood out to me. So those were the ones that jumped out at me. I think that might have been 5. Yes.
Ms. Wani?
I have ideas, but I also can I phone a friend? Because I'm curious what a certain cabinet member might also be on the top of her list for feedback. Is that allowed? I would like to know what Mrs. Berrigan would want her top priority to be as in the funding world, as the funding expert, because a lot of these speak to funding. They're all important, and I'm just curious to know.
I don't have the list in front of me. All 5 of mine as a board member in my own district would all be funding related. But you should
anything in the
probably be a
universe
little
of
more
funding.
diverse than that. What's that?
Anything in the universe of funding to you is would be where your eyes would be.
Yeah, I would say the ones that affect as many of the students as possible.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, so I think everything that's been suggested, I mean, they're all worthy and important. I definitely had a lot of emphasis in my list on the funding because not that funding solves all the problems, but it sure helps, doesn't it, the situation. The one I maybe would just add to the mix that I don't think from funding was discussed is just that maximize state funding to provide competitive salaries to attract, recruit, retain teachers. That first one there, increase pipeline of certified teachers. That number 1 there. I'd maybe just throw that one into the mix. And I guess I would also maybe just emphasize, and I don't know, maybe if it's something that we add as a proposal would be, and I get like the fully fund Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. I mean, I feel like I would like to see something that specifically discusses, right, bridging like the gap between the cost of services for our special education students and what we actually get. Something that just explicitly calls that out.
Would you consider that in terms of federal advocacy or pretty much back to funding
I
because
think
that's
it goes
not
back
really
to, I think
federal.
it goes back to funding and I feel, and it's not, I don't think it's explicitly really stated in these bullets. So I don't know. So I don't mean to mix. I know we were just looking at these, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because I feel like this one, the federal advocacy is super important. But I think in addition to that, it does go back to state funding, special education students. And then I don't really have anything to add as far as like the top 5 priorities if we want to continue that conversation and then I guess go back to, proposals because I didn't mean to mix those two up.
So basically you gave us one. No, that's okay. I'm just making sure I got my letters where they need to go. Okay. So should I put you by the fully fund IDEA or do you want to shift that into? Okay.
I mean, but again, these are all important.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Okay. Mrs. Christensen, do you have some to throw into the mix?
Yeah. I also would like to support the fully fund IDEA. That was one of the big one when I worked at the state, just across the state. People are really struggling with that, and then just not having enough support there for those individuals. So that to me is one of the biggest ones. Also, under preserve, respect, and strengthen local control. That first bullet, ensure local control and flexibility in managing funds and programs within the Arizona constitutional requirements of a general and uniform public school system. Also, that second bullet item to change override and budget increase language to better reflect what voters are being asked to support. I think that would take away a lot of confusion on those. The last one that I had was require, it's under require public accountability and transparency. So require comparative classroom spending audits for school districts and all other institutions that accept public funds and define, quote, classroom spending as both instructional spending and student support spending. So that was 4.
Okay, just to start getting others in the mix. The 5 I had were maximize state funding, which isn't going to go away. So, it's going to stay there. Also, second column under adequately and equitably fund would be once more with feeling, eliminate unfunded mandates and administrative burdens. Under preserve respect and strengthen local control, the same one Dr. Lim had, which was oppose legislation that intends to lessen or curtail legal authority. The second bullet point on the second column, in the purple, I had the oppose regulations, policies, and restrictions that overburden and unreasonably penalize education support staff as they educate and care for students. So that's the first bullet point in the second column. Under the require public accountability, I marked the established financial and academic transparency. So the first bullet point, and I think that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's my 5. So there is no consensus.
And I wonder if, governing board president Greenberg, I wonder if there's any use to, and you are the veteran, and I know, Tony, you've done this work too, right? And you've worked at the state, so we've got a lot of different perspectives here maybe, but I'm wondering if maybe a way to go about this, because like you said, some of these they're not going anywhere, right? Do we think, is there value in us trying to narrow in on like the world's on fire, and so let's pick like the buildings that are closest to us that are on fire, or that at the end of the day, like maybe I'll give an example for context. I think governing board member Pantera, you mentioned repealing the aggregate expenditure, right? So like it's like if we're talking about urgency, right, and hierarchy of alarming things, I mean, but also is that one not going away, right? So I'm just trying to figure out an approach here.
Well, that's why I picked that one, because it's always there. It's always held as hostage. You know, we'll lift this if you do that. It's like, always put a gun to this thing's head. We won't let you spend your money unless you do something else that's, we don't like.
And like every year, kind of, it's been like
Every year it's
kicking
a
the can
drama
down
around
the
this
road.
thing. And
Yeah.
if we just get rid of it and deal with it once and for all, then it wouldn't be always hanging over a district's head statewide. That's why I brought that one up.
So I'll go ahead and add to kind of what Ms. Wani is saying. So like I would have no problem having the federal one disappear because I think maybe thinking more at a state level might be more appropriate for us at the moment in this space. And I would be fine with not having that one move forward and not considering that one at all to craft one that's about bridging the gap between funding for our special education programs, which it sounded like it was coming up as a proposal to write something in for that. So I would be happy to say, okay, let's not focus at the federal level, at least in the initial ones we're giving, and instead write a proposal that's around what we value, which is maybe bridging that financial gap between the funding we receive and the funding for services that are needed to robustly support our students who have special education needs.
I think we should leave that one in because anything that is coming, anything that's going away at the federal level is coming to the states. So there's a lot of changes at the federal level, and they're not, some of these programs are not going away. They're just moving. They're moving to other places. So I don't think it matters that it says federal advocacy there. That is a really important item to fully fund individuals with disabilities.
Yeah, no, I
And-
think, I'm not saying that I don't want to support it. I'm saying if writing one that's explicit to us that our concern is the gap in funding, that it doesn't even need to be under IDEA. If IDEA went away for some reason, we are more concerned about the gap that this particular act is trying to bridge. And that is our concern. So explicitly calling out what our concern is about the act is the bridge for students who need additional support. So explicitly calling out what we want and being very clear that we are looking at a bridge. Though the act touches lots of other aspects, our concern is the funding aspect of not having the funding we need to support our students that have special education needs. So that's just less about not valuing it, but more about explicitly calling out what we as a board value, if that's what we value as a board, is the funding aspect there. It's okay if that we're not. That's just, I'm trying to wrap my mind around things. It's also 9 o'clock trying to wrap mind around things. So I may be falling on my face.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when we look at fully fund IDEA, IDEA has never been fully funded. And as much as, whether it stays in here or not, I don't see IDEA ever being fully funded. Even in the best of times. So maybe it is that bridge, focusing on that bridge. But again, that becomes, you're right, that's a statewide. So is that what we want to do? I mean, yeah, I think it is critically important. I mean, I'm trying to remember back when I was lobbying through ASBA. I think it was 40%. That was like the highest amount IDEA was ever funded. So, are we ever going to get it? Doubtful.
Well, and in a way, it's kind of mentioned under that first section there about adequate funding. All those bullet points, the one that had the JROTC in it. It also talks about student support staff dedicated to enhancing safe and effective learning environments. Safe and effective would include the people with disabilities, right? I mean, it's safe and effective for them as well as for everybody.
I mean, it also includes exceptional student services. So I think that's part of that discussion, but. Okay, looking at the others, let's maybe put that one aside and just, we can decide, do we want to craft new language or because this was one of the only ones that had two of us supporting it. We hit a lot of single shots here.
Well, I only gave one, so I'll add another one to help us out. I like the change override budget language. I mean, I wish we didn't have to do overrides and bond initiatives in the first place. So, but if we have to, I think I would like it to say what it is and not feel intentionally misleading to the public. And that feels maybe doable, maybe, right? So I also want to think about what's actually like, what can we maybe actually do? And maybe that's doable. So I'll throw that another notch on that one.
Okay,
Okay.
that one's been there a long time.
Things are feeling like harder to do. So changing words seems like maybe that should be.
Well, this one did change a little bit because we got continuation in, but it hasn't changed since we got that in. But I have marked a J. I mean, okay, at this point, this is what we have. We do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that at least two of us have said. So let me say what those are, and then we can decide if those want to be our top 5. We have the maximized state funding. In the first section, in the second section, we now have the change override budget increase language, and we also have the oppose any legislation that intends to lessen or curtail legal authority of locally elected boards. In the purple section, we have the redefine the role and purpose of standardized testing and develop meaningful assessments and other measurable outcomes. And then under federal advocacy, we have the fully fund IDEA. Now, that doesn't mean we can't also do a new one that talks about the bridging. But those are the 5 that we have at least, well, I shouldn't say at least, that we have 2 of us in some form that have marked as priorities. Does that work for everyone?
I mean, all like 100 of these are my priorities. So this is why
Yeah,
I mean, yes. So right. So yes, I mean, that works. That works for me.
I mean, and that's the point, that's what we're doing is we are saying for this year, for this board, these are the top 5 that we're seeing. We're not saying any of these are lesser because they are all our priorities. So does that work or do we want to?
Well, I still like that repealing the constitute aggregate limit portion.
Okay, so here's my suggestion. Is there a way to wordsmith that becomes one of our suggestions?
Well, you're saying the 2 that we get to add to the 5?
Yeah, that would be new. So is there a way we can make this sound new?
I could live with that. If we reword this to make it sound new.
Sound new.
Newish, a newer version, a 2.1 or.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is, right now it's explicit to say repeal the the AEL via legislative referral to the voters. And I know that's an attempt to take it out of the legislature and hopefully one way or the other do something with it. Although if it goes down, it's still back at the legislature. Is that the direction you want to see, or do we propose something else so it sounds new?
Yeah, the direction I want to see is it not being used as it should be voted on by itself without any kind of other hangers-on bills that go with it.
Okay, so here's my suggestion. If we all are okay with that, maybe come up with some language and then bring it in next time. And then we can, see it beforehand, hopefully. And then we can all kind of wordsmith. And then also maybe the bridge IDEA gap.
True.
We can come up with some language. Does that sound like a plan? Okay, so the 5 that have at least 2 of us, or only 2 of us, those will be our top 5. Our two new ones will be something about bridging the IDA gap and something about dealing with the AEL. That will look a little different than what's
Say
here.
like maximize funding and then let us use it.
Pardon?
It's like, can we just tag on to the maximize state funding and let us use it?
That would make sense, but I don't know that it's happening. Okay, so this was first read. Thank you, everybody who stayed. And thank you, everybody, because this is what discussion is about. So, pardon? Okay. Got it. Yes, that's true. And if anybody's still online, thank you. Before we adjourn, I'd like to remind everybody that the next regular board meeting will be held on Thursday, June 5th. And this is now in our summer schedule, so it will start at 5 p.m. Yeah. Mrs. Christensen, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously.